Welcome back. The SGX Nifty is down about 20 points, but not down and out. Let's see how things move from here. Ashwani Gujral, Sudarshan Sukhani and Mitesh Thakkar now join us. Good morning. Ashwani, yesterday we had a trending lower day except for last half an hour where there was recovery in the Nifty, not as much in the Bank Nifty, of course. But your thoughts on how to approach the indices today?
Well, good morning. I would think today would be a bit more sideways, and after the early morning dip, maybe around 850, 870, yesterday's lows, you could have a bit of a short covering bounce because we are still sideways. It's not like we've broken down, and yesterday's last couple of hours type sideways movement gives you hope that maybe the market is at the lower end of the short-term range, and around 30,850 on Bank Nifty you could find some buying support. So today is not the sort of day where you chase downside momentum.
Yep, fair point. But I don't know, I'm wondering if today the Nifty Bank will be more tricky. It's got some positives going for it in the sense that the CPI numbers, crude has fallen to $60 and stuff like that. But there is expiry. Sudarshan, good morning to you. My first question therefore is Nifty Bank. Is it a dangerous trade or is it an easy long?
Good morning. It's a dangerous trade. It's not an easy long. We are talking about the Nifty Bank.
Yes.
I would feel that the first 2 hours are going to be difficult because the direction, the short-term direction is confusing. Markets are in a very narrow range, and the Nifty Bank has support at 30,900, which is where it may open. Now, that support breaks and another 100, 150 points on the downside, early morning could happen. So I would not buy the Nifty Bank. The Nifty also has almost a similar contours. It's in a trading range now, just a 100-point range between 11,860 and 11,960. So normally for a swing trader like me, a narrow range becomes a no trade zone because you can get 20 points on the upside or 20 points on the downside, but nothing much. So a dip to 11,860, if that dip holds, becomes a buying opportunity. That's if.
Okay, well, there is a dip that is expected for sure. That's what the market has been indicating for the last few days. Mitesh, if that morning, first of all, if that dip does come about, would you initiate a fresh long position? And what are the markers now on the index that you're watching closely?
Good morning. I think market which is range, and therefore buying on dips would be a good idea. The question is, what levels would you possibly look at? The broader range to me appears to be close to about 11,780 to roughly about, let's say, 12,000 on the upside. But there's a midpoint pivot which is also holding out nicely, and that's close to about 11,870, 860 zone. So I think attempt a long around those levels, take a 25, 30 point stop loss. In case that gets broken, I think 11,800, 780 would be the broader pullback, which would give you even a better opportunity to go long. So in that sense, yes, we're trading with slightly long edge or long bias, but not very aggressive. Either you want to buy it closer to the lower end of the range or on a breakout.
Okay, fair enough. Let's discuss stocks then. Sudarshan, good morning. What are you buying?
Well, actually, I'm buying and selling both. And some of the easy buys are TCS. TCS has been making those new highs, consistently gaining momentum. So irrespective of the US markets, I think good quality IT stocks in India should do well. So TCS is a buying opportunity. And then ONGC from that oil pack, whether it's oil marketing or oil producers, and ONGC probably gains in so many different ways because of lower crude prices. It's not just drilling oil, it's doing a lot more. That's showing on the charts. So I'm only talking about the price patterns. ONGC is a buying opportunity. It's on the verge of breaking out from short-term highs. The others are short sells. The market is confusing today. It's not giving a sense of cheer. Apollo Tyres is a short sell. Apollo Tyres, CEAT, both are having miserable charts and breaking down in spite of crude. Reliance Capital is a short sell, whatever you get out of it, 50 paisa, 1 rupee, but it's on the downside. And Cholamandalam Finance, which is in the F&O segment, has had a rally, and then it's been trading in a large range for almost 2 months. It's now breaking down from that range, and NBFCs are weak anyway. That's a short sell. Short sells are only intraday.
Okay, fair point. Ashwini, what would your mix be?
See, Tata Communication is a sell with a stop of 500, target of 475. Tech Mahindra is a sell with a stop of 755, target of 730. Biocon is a sell with a stop of 262, target of 248. And Hind Unilever is a buy with a stop of 1830, target of 1875. And United Spirits is a buy with a stop of 568, target of 590.
Okay, clearly sales are outnumbering.
Okay, well, the SGX Nifty is off the lows, so it's indicating that the start will be flat. Let's see
But
which
these are
way it
more
goes.
mid-cap sales that we are getting.
Yeah, that the way it has been, I guess, the trend for the last few days. But Mitesh, would you also have equal number of buys and sells, or would your bias be towards the upside?
Yeah, I have right now, I think, equal numbers of buys and sells, 2 buys, 2 sells. The first one is a buy on Tata Steel and Metals, were in action yesterday, buy with a stop at 495 for targets of 525. I also have a buy on Asian Paint, the stop at 1414 for targets of 1450, while 2 sell calls would be a sell on Bosch with a stop at 17,200 for targets close to about 16,350, and RBL Bank, it's a conditional sell, it's trading at 658. I would want to see the pivot of 655 being broken, so sell below that 654 if it's hit, and keep a stop at 662. Look for declines about 636 kind of levels.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we have lots more questions for you, but we'll come back to you in a bit. For the moment, we want to give you some interesting insights from the high and mighty of India Inc. That's because Shireen Bhan is in Washington, D.C. for the India Ideas Summit of the USIBC, which is US India Business Councils. And from the sidelines of that conference, she caught up with Banmali Agarwala, the President, Infrastructure, Defence and Aerospace of Tata Sons, began by asking him about the expectations from the new government and where he sees business going over the next few years.
It clearly is also a function of at the speed at which the government makes decisions, which, as I just said, I think one does expect the government to start making much faster decisions. And I think one would also expect the government to expand the possibility of the private sector to participate in the entire program and so on. But I think being integrated with the global supply chain is extremely crucial because it is the entire export opportunity that builds some amount of stability to the business rather than the vagaries of individual orders that, maybe at times take a long period to materialize. So I think that balance we seem to have, we are comfortable with.
Okay.
And that's what we are banking on very heavily.
So what is the expectation in terms of possible joint ventures, inking agreements with the likes of Lockheed Martin? I mean, what should we expect from here on as far as the defense side is concerned?
So, I mean, we've already inked those agreements, and so we already have those partnerships. And over this period, as I was saying, over the last 7 or 8 years, we've slowly but certainly further increase capability by supplying more and more components into the global supply chain. So, for example, if you take Lockheed Martin, we will soon be making the F-16 wings in India, which is a fairly sophisticated piece of equipment. We build the empennages for many of the products that we see now in India, from the defense platform and so on. So I think that trust, the confidence, the capability with these partners has now come up to a stage where we are ready to move on to even bigger things.
Outside of defense, the other areas of future collaboration to build on what has already happened, energy, space and infrastructure. How do you see that as areas of opportunity for you? Because these are all businesses that you're involved with in some form or fashion.
Certainly, and I think if you take energy, for example, and the point that was being made on natural gas and renewables, so I think in the entire space of clean, I think there is clearly an opportunity, and also an opportunity for financial flows, for investment to come in from the US into India in terms of long-term perspectives with a slightly lower threshold of expectation of returns, which is what is really required for infrastructure projects, particularly in the renewable space. So platforms such as the INVIT platforms or the REIT platforms, I think one does expect a lot of capital flow to happen. And I would say that the Indian scenario is getting more stable, getting more predictable, and you already see a lot of interest that is coming up on the table to invest in platforms such as these.
But how big would the aspiration be on the renewable side for the Tatas?
Well, it is very big. I think we've grown our platform slowly but steadily. We haven't been reckless in the way we've approached it. And I think now we've got to figure out a way as to how do we grow this even further, bring in patient capital in a manner that will allow us to deploy our own capital into further development and growing our story.
On the infrastructure side, I mean, this has perhaps been one of the areas where things haven't panned out as per expectations of the government. I mean, private investment hasn't really kick-started, and especially not on the infrastructure side. How is that likely to play out? What's the sense that you get today? And, is that a space where we can expect perhaps the kind of consolidation that we've seen across some of your other businesses?
Yes, I think flow of funds and debt into infrastructure, I think this is something which we have to see pick up again. There's a lot of stress, particularly in the power sector, with stranded assets and all that. I think all that has to resolve. And I think there's, even within the first few days of the new government, one has seen certain actions from the ministry that once you do have a resolution, let's say in terms of stressed assets,
right,
you shouldn't have other bodies like regulators and all that challenging it, because then that entire process is endless. So it has to be closed in a defined period of time so that you can resolve a problem, get the stressed asset to revive again and move on with life. So one does expect those kind of decisions and moves